4 months ago, I created my own Angry Birds game, and although the birds were victorious against the pigs, we suffered some casualties. So my goal today is to strengthen the Angry Bird army and get revenge on the pigs. Angry Birds Part 2 has been a pretty highly requested video. I'll put some of those comments up on screen. So in this video, I want to create 2 new types of birds and also a new way to launch them. The first bird I'm going to create is actually 3 birds. This is the blues, but I'm considering them to be 1 bird since you launch all 3 of them at the same time. The special ability of this bird is that you can split it into 3 as you launch it, which is nice to be able to hit 3 different targets at the same time. Although each of these individual birds isn't as strong as one bigger bird, but you get a nice variety of hitting 3 different things. All 3 of these birds have pretty much all of the exact same details. The only thing I changed just a little bit was the beaks, just to get a little more variety and different expressions on their faces. Now this part looks a little bit weird at first, but they have these little puffy eyelids underneath their eyes, but once the whole face comes together, I think it looks a lot better. I'm pretty curious if I'm going to be able to shoot all 3 of these out of the slingshot, or if I'm just going to have to wait for the catapult. Using some yellow clay, we can create the beak, and this is a little bit hard at first, but once you get the method down, it's pretty easy to copy and paste it onto all of the birds. I decided to skip on the tails for these birds since in the first video when I created the tails, they ended up just breaking off after the first or second launch, so there's not really a point to creating those. Now we are going to create the big boy Terrence. This guy doesn't have any special abilities, but he's really huge, so he does a lot of damage and can knock down a lot of blocks. Hopefully, the catapult is going to be able to actually launch him. To help with this, I'm using some foil for the inside to make everything lighter. The only downside of using foil is that the clay figures get a little bit lumpy. Sometimes you have to use a couple layers of clay, but since I'm going to launch this across the room and maybe even break it, I don't really care if it's a little bit lumpy. You can see just how much bigger it is than Red or the other birds. It's pretty massive. Now using some tan, we will create the stomach pad. And this got a little bit wavy around the edges, so I'm using the modeling tool to straighten that up. Onto the eyes, we have to create the face really tiny and right in the middle near the bottom, which is really strange for a character design, but somehow it just kind of works in the Angry Birds style. I'm creating the eyes the same as the other ones, except since they're a bit bigger, I'm going to add this extra detail of white in the middle. Now, since it's Angry Birds, we want the bird to look nice and angry, and slanting the eyes down is how you get that look. And also adding in some angry eyebrows will really help to make him look mad. And we have the beak. And Terrence is almost complete. We have one more detail. He has these little spots all over him, and they're just a little bit darker than the main color of his body, so I took some of the body color and mixed it with black. And now Terrence and the blues are ready to get baked. In case you didn't see the first video, this is the slingshot I created, which can be pretty powerful, but not very accurate and definitely not consistent. And the other issue is, well, this guy is never going to be able to launch out of this. So we have to expand our weaponry, and I'm going to create a trebuchet. The trebuchet is possibly the most powerful medieval weapon ever created. This thing was the king of destruction before cannons came around. Hopefully I can look at some pictures of trebuchets and replicate the design. This first piece I'm creating is going to be the arm that swings. And let's put that to the side for now because we need to create the base. The trebuchet's design is actually pretty simple once you get how it works. We need the little side supports. And I've also put these little cross beams for some extra strength. Now back to the arm, it's a little bit complicated at first, but the short side needs to be 1 part, and the long side needs to be 3.75 parts of the whole stick. So using the calculator, we have a basic estimate of where I should create the hole for the spinning arm. This is going to be the support that holds it up. I found these little bamboo skewers, and they actually work perfectly for this. These are typically used for making kebabs or grilling different things, but I guess they also work perfectly for trebuchets or catapults. I've secured this middle part in with some hot glue, and also around the edges we need some to make sure that the stick doesn't slide out. It's actually surprisingly sturdy, so let's trim off the sides and we can work on the net in the back. I'm not sure what the actual name is for this, maybe it's a sling, but it looks a lot like the little pocket that's on a slingshot. Sadly, this part didn't actually end up working and I had to turn it into more of a catapult, but I wanted to show you the process of how I created this part anyway. On the other side, we'll have a little basket for the counterweight, and I'm using some wire to hold it up. I created this basket with some more hot glue and popsicle sticks. After securing the wire, we can see that it really does work. Now, I couldn't find anything to use for weights, so I settled on using some coins, and I think it worked out pretty well. So now we can test it out, and as you see, the weight just really isn't enough to launch it. I got a couple successful launches, but it wasn't very impressive, and I think it could do a lot better. So I'm gonna ditch the sling and go for a little mini red cup. So this pretty much made it turn into a catapult, but I guess it still kind of has the feel of a trebuchet. So now, let the battle begin. So you can see just how inaccurate and altogether not that great the slingshot is. So now I'm designing a little castle and we'll be using the catapult. I hope you all enjoyed the creation of these new Angry Birds and the destruction that came with it. Let me know if you want to see a part 3 to this Angry Birds series and what might be in that video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.